organizing this. We are really excited to be here tonight, and I would have actually been even more excited to have you at Alasco in our office, but nevertheless, I'm really happy that we were able to do it now remote. Just short question, do you hear me all right, Alex? Okay, perfect. So I will share my screen, and if you are having questions during my talk, just write them down in the comments, and then we will answer them later, or otherwise in the breakout rooms we will do later to have some more exchange. Okay, so first of all, welcome. I'm from Alasco. I'm here with a couple of colleagues, and my talk will be about lean UX focused on research at a SaaS startup. And first of all, I want to say a couple of words to me so you know who's speaking here. So my name is Bastian. I'm born and raised in Munich, and I'm really happy to be in Munich with Alasco as well. From my background, I have studied business psychology. So I've learned a lot about motivation of people. Why are people doing things they are doing? And after my studies, I've worked as innovation consultant at an agency called Hive in Munich. And I have developed digital products for huge corporates, helped them in their processes, set up new innovation processes, and also empowered people to work more agile. I have done an education program over 2 years to become a systemic coach. So systemic coaching is a lot about asking the right questions to help people find their own solutions for problems. Of course, it's really focused on private topics, like, for example, if you're unhappy with your job. But to be honest, now working as a UX researcher, I just see the huge potential of having this education in my daily work, especially in my qualitative interviews. And furthermore, I'm working as a lecturer in a college because I just love working with young students and sharing my knowledge. And now I am at Alasco. I started almost a year ago, and we have been, I think, 21 people when I started there. So now I want to give you a couple of insights to Alasco, so just you know the context about everything. Okay, about Alasco. We have been founded in 2018 by the ex-Stylight founders. You might know them. They're pretty known in the startup ecosystem, Benny, Basti, and Anselm. We are 40 employees so far and growing really fast. We're based in Munich in a really nice office, which we are just partially using right now. And we have just celebrated our Series A funding of 7.5 million in May, which was pretty amazing to get this still during COVID. And yes, so what are we doing? Our focus is the construction industry. So we are rethinking financial processes for construction projects. So just imagine the Berlin airport. Those are things we don't want to have. So we are tracking costs and durations and making sure that projects like this, like huge projects, stay in time. Because without Alasco, they are all working in Excel, and just imagine a project with millions of euro being managed in Excel. So it's sometimes really horrifying what we're seeing. So we are managing this, automizing processes, building up workflows, so everyone is integrated in the software to manage all the finances that are in the project. So this is just a little bit of context information. Now I want to start with the topic of which you're here. So first of all, why did I put in my talk or in the title of my presentation the words lean and SaaS? They're nice buzzwords, and having been an innovation consultant, to be honest, I hate those buzzwords because people throw them around. But I have actually thought of why I picked them. So first of all, I want to explain you why lean and why is SaaS important. So first of all, lean. And research is a limited resource, especially in startups, because we just don't have the time, we don't have the money, and we don't have the people. So we want to make sure that we are clear about what we want to find out. And we want to minimize the total time through the feedback loop. So if I have a feature and I want to test it, I want to be as fast as possible. And I want to reduce uncertainties as early as possible. And that's the most important thing, during the whole process and everything we do, we want to reduce waste. I think this is really something that no one wants, like a feature you are deploying and that in the end no one is using. And then why did I choose the word SaaS in my title? So actually that's something I have found out after really working at Alasco, because at my innovation consultancy, I have mostly developed B2C products. So I have really realized how big the influence of SaaS or B2B software is on UX research and what challenges it brings. So first of all, it's a field of really specialized knowledge. So a lot of time is just used to understand the topic, which is good because I'm as a UX researcher, I'm not an expert in the field. So sometimes it's kind of good to be really dumb about processes because you rethink them totally different to people who have always worked in the area. And we have a limited number of users. So user testing is a very limited resource and it takes time to organize. So I cannot go out on the street and just ask people in a coffee shop, what do you think about Alasco? Because they will have no clue what I'm showing them. So we can just focus on our users and of course on prospects that might become our users. And then users and customers are not the same. So this means that we have two different values and pains that we have to address with our software. So the customers are more important. So those are the ones who are paying. They are more important for sales. And the users are the ones that are really important when it comes to customer success. And furthermore, in order to do customer research, relationship to customers is key. So in the beginning, when I started, my biggest problem was to get interviews because I had to rely on sales, on customer success to bring the interviews. Now I know my customers and I can just call them and they know what I'm doing and it just gets so much easier. And one more thing, and we have really long onboarding cycles. So usage and also feedback lags behind. So as soon as we deploy something, it still takes a lot of time till it's adopted by users and that we really see, for example, data change or that we get enough feedback to say, okay, now at least half of our customers have tried it and I can say whatever. Most of the time it takes a long time. Okay, so in the context of this, and I want to start and I want to talk about Lean UX and want to give you 5 facts about Lean UX at Alasco, how we do it. And of course, we are all learning and I think it's always changing in a startup where things are changing constantly. We have new challenges arising every day. And I want to share also my challenges with you because I think that's the most interesting thing to discuss about. So my first fact, Lean UX is a company effort. So in order to explain you what I mean by that, I just want to give you a short info on how our product process works. So we have customers and we have prospects. So customer success is talking to customers, sales is talking to potential customers, leads, and then they will become customers. And sales and customer success have a really close connect or relationship to our customers. So they get a whole bunch of insights, they find a whole bunch of problems, feature requests, ideas, requirements. It's always going to be them first who's going to know about those insights. And I have to get access to those insights as detailed as possible. So what we're doing is that they are writing all of their content in the product board, and I'm trying to understand the problem, I'm clustering them, I'm finding patterns, and as soon as I know, oh yeah, that's something interesting, I might go back and talk to the customers. And all of those insights we are looking at from a different perspective. We're looking on it from the vision, strategy, and roadmap. And then our product owners, they will prioritize our product backlog, and then we will continue with certain features we want to develop. And I think one thing that's working out really great at Alasco is that we are working in sprints, but not only for the building process, but also for the research process. So as soon as I have a research question, I'm starting a problem sprint. So for example, I want to find out, how do people upload invoices? Or actually, what problems do they have when they receive invoices? So I talk to customers and really try to understand what the main problem is behind it. And maybe I also I generate hypotheses, I generate user stories, and it's not only me doing it, it's always a product owner going with me, or a solution engineer, or our UX researcher. And then from this point, if we know, okay, yeah, it's worth to solve this problem, but we have no clue how, we go in the next sprint and we do a solution sprint. So then really a product owner takes on more responsibility. I still be in there, but then we're generating a solution. And as soon as we have a solution that has also been tested and we are sure, yeah, this solution solves the problem, we will go on and build it. And then our front end and back end engineers come in, but they will join us in between every once in a while to also be involved in customer interviews. And then if we've developed something here, it goes up to marketing and we will announce it to customers and prospects. So why is it a company effort? I think because it's such an expert tool, it's not something you can grasp easily. Like if I build up an e-commerce store and I want to find out how does the payment process work, it's something way easier and nothing that's that develops in such a close exchange to the customer. So I'm reliant on the input from customer success and sales. And what challenges we are facing right now is that we actually don't find a tooling that is doing all of that. Of course, there are great toolings like Product Board, like HubSpot, that are doing all the separate parts, but really getting an inclusive, like a holistic tool that is doing all of them is for us really a challenge right now. Next thing, Lean UX is iterative. So we strive to reduce uncertainty. So what do? Like I already said, we focus on the different things we want to achieve. So first sprint, for example, would be a problem sprint. So I want to find out what is the customer's deeper problem. And I start this with a defined scope. So I have already in mind, what is my research question? Where do I want to end here? Like which questions do I want to have answered? And every sprint goes pretty much through a double diamond. So we open up, and for example, also in the problem space, I might have prototypes, not in order to test the prototype, but in order to answer a specific question for me. So, or it could be a landing page. So now we're going international, and I want to find out, okay, is there more demand in Austria, or do people in Netherlands have that problem? So I just create landing pages and find out how do people react on this, and is there a problem that I'm targeting with this? And the same happens then with solutions. So then we ask ourselves, did we build the right function to solve this problem that we found out is out there? And I think one thing that's important is that it's always going iteratively. So if I find out here, oh, we're not right with the solution, I'm just going back to the problem again. And I'll try to find out, okay, what is missing? And the other thing is that in Scrum, like if you say a feature is shipped, it would be finished or potentially shippable, I think is the right wording in Scrum now. But actually, we just see it as ready for the next iteration. So after something is built, I have to measure again, did I really build what I wanted to, or do I have to go back and find out, oh, this is not the total problem we solved, this is just partially, or new problems arise. So what challenges are we facing? I think one challenge is exploration versus exploitation. So how much do I still improve, so exploitation, and go in with the same features I'm having and making them better? and how much do I go with new features? So how much is exploration of new features? And I think one huge challenge, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to have that challenge, is combining iterations with quarterly OKRs. So we are, like probably most of the startups, working with OKRs to set quarterly goals and key measurements we want to achieve and how we want to measure it. And it's really, really difficult to have a really circular process combined with the linear process coming in for the quarters. So normally, if I have something in quarter 2, I can continue with it in quarter 3 if we set another goal. Still, we do it a little bit, but it's just really difficult to get those two worlds together. Then lean UX is fast and cheap. So my main goal, or our main goal here, is to strive to eliminate waste. So what do we do for it? So one big thing we've learned is focus. So what we are doing and what is working really, really good, especially when we were still in the office, was working with design sprints. So if we had a big topic, like here, for example, it was a topic of budgeting. So how do you put in budgets on Alasco to plan the costs? So we did a design sprint over 4 or 5 days. So it was pretty close to the Google design sprint. Of course, we adapted a couple of things, how it works better for us. And we started with customer interviews, we did prototypes, we tested, and we did all really condensed in 4 days, and we didn't do anything else but maybe some Scrum events, but we were totally focused, and that worked out really great. And in general, we are doing a whole bunch of lightweight experience throughout the whole process to test our hypothesis. So we do early prototyping through sketches, Excel, wireframe, whatever, and also concierge prototypes. So for example, we have one process where people can upload invoices to Alasco, and it was pretty difficult to get those invoices to the right projects in Alasco, because the customer has many projects on Alasco he's managing. So we just faked it in the beginning, and customer success uploaded them in the right project, and we told the customer we have already an automated process. We did this in order to learn what does the customer need, how do the invoices come in, what information is in there. And now, I think we just started 2 weeks ago, now we are able to automate, to make it automatic and really upload it without any further ado of us, but it doesn't change anything for the customer. Now we're just clarified all the uncertainties, and now we're able to do it. Another thing is that we're working with a lot of beta versions. So we are introducing features to a couple of customers in order to find out if they are working with their live data and if they are doing fine with it. And I think the most important thing that makes it fast and cheap is that you work hypothesis driven. So I build a prototype not for the sake of a prototype. I build a prototype to answer a specific question. So a lot of times I don't even want to build what I'm doing here, but I want to test a certain question or want to answer a certain question here. So it's important just to design enough to invalidate or validate your hypothesis. So I don't want to invest too much time in doing awesome user interfaces if I just want to answer a simple question. And so what challenges are we facing? So feedback cycles take time. Like I said, in a SaaS company, it's really difficult to get enough customer input because we are having, let's say, around 50, 60 customers. So there is a limited resource of it. And it's always difficult for us to test prototypes with real data because the data is a long onboarding process of a lot of financial things. So we cannot test it with low fidelity prototypes. They already have to be really high fidelity to test it with their data. That's why beta versions make so much sense for us. And we have the problem or the challenge that prototypes rise customer expectations. So I'm testing a whole bunch of prototypes with them, and then they have expectations that we do it. And we always have to communicate that this doesn't mean that we're doing it right away. And then the next thing, Lean UX is data driven. So we strive to measure everything. So the goal is that we want to know where do we have to have a closer look at and what impact did changes have. So we implemented a new feature. So what did change now? If nothing changed, was it okay? Did we do something wrong? What did we want to actually achieve with it? So how do we do this? And we actually measure adoption and frequency of defined areas. And I don't know if you know the Intercom, they have a really cool paper about this, about product management, and they do the measurement of adoption and frequency, and that works out pretty cool. So we first of all will have a look at the frequency, like how often is a feature used, like never or always, and how's the adoption of a feature. So is there non-adoption, or do all customers use it? And then if I have a certain feature, I have a look like, what do I want to do? Do I want to improve the quality of the feature? So for example, make the usability better. And do I want to increase the frequency that it's used? Or do I want to increase the adoption so that more people use it? And depending on what goal I'm setting, I have to do different things and focus on different things. Furthermore, this measurement tells me which features are underperforming right now. So the question is, do we want to kill it? Is it just not worth it? Not a big enough pain behind it? We don't know. And I think that's the important thing. I think quantitative research always goes in hand with qualitative research, because the why I can only answer if I really talk to the customer. So I can find out, okay, this feature is not used, but I have no clue why it's not used. Do people not see the value? Is the UI confusing? Are there too many bugs? Or is the feature maybe, I don't know, in a wrong color? We have no clue. So we need to talk to people. So quantitative research helps me to tell me where to look at, and qualitative interviews help me to answer the why behind it. And then I can measure it again with quantitative research. What happened after I changed it? And what challenges are we facing? Like I said, I think this is always our challenge. User bases is small, and it's an expert tool, and the deploy to adoption takes time. So for example, we did a huge deploy now, and I think we got a cool feature, and we tested it already in prototypes, and everything is fine. But I didn't see the adoption yet, because it takes so much time till customer success onboards people on the feature, because they need to enter all the data, they need to upload new things. So it's time of onboarding till they really use it. So there's a lacking of deploy and then changes in the feature. And also customers and projects are in different phases. So meaning if I'm at the beginning of a construction process, I have totally different needs and pains than in the end of a construction process. So maybe some are just not used because customers are not that far behind in the process yet. That's always difficult, and we always have to find that out in order to interpret our data in the right way. Okay, and then I'll already come to the last point, and that is Lean UX is pain-driven. And I've written down pain-driven because I strive to solve real customer problems. So I'm not working customer-driven or user-centered. I think customer-driven and user-centered is a part of it, but I think pain-driven is the thing that's really important. So imagine you get a user request, and what you could do is just, oh yeah, user request. Okay, then I just do it, build a prototype, test it, and then I put a feature down. But users ask for things that they are familiar with, not necessarily what would be best for them. So what we need to find out is, why do they want the feature? So I love feature requests, because that shows me, oh, there must be a pain that I have to look at. So I need to find out what is the pain behind the user request, and then I can ideate, prototype, and test. Because what we are planning at Alasco is not to digitalize just shitty processes in the construction industry. What we want is to improve those processes, make them more agile, make them faster, simplify them. And that's not if I just do what they already know. And it's like, I think a cool analogy is if you go to a doctor, he doesn't ask you or you don't tell him what you want for treatment or what your diagnosis is, you tell him your symptoms. And that's what you need to do with your customers. So we ask them for the why behind everything. So what challenges are we facing? Handling user requests is always difficult because we have to give feedback to them. We have to handle expectations. And especially when you're in a close exchange with your customers, they expect way more. So you open up a whole bunch of topics and you somehow need to talk to them about them. So that's one challenge. And the other one is aggregating it and finding the patterns in the pain, because it doesn't help me just to understand the pain of one customer. Then I have to find out, this is then my hypothesis, this pain, and I have to find out if this pain other customers have as well. Okay, so just as a short summary, Lean UX is a company effort. Everyone has to be involved in a B2B business. I'm not saying in a B2C, I think this is different. And you have to work iteratively, you have to be fast and cheap, and build up on hypotheses to invalidate them or validate them. You have to work data-driven and pain-driven in order to be customer-centric and to build a solution that is better than what they expect. Okay, so thank you so far. So if you have ideas to solve our challenges, we are currently looking for a UX designer and also for an intern for UX research and product management. So get in touch with Hannah or Nina or join us in our breakout session later if you have questions. And then thank you guys for your attention. And I'm more than happy if you add me on LinkedIn. And I've also written down some recommendations to read, and I can also share the presentation with you later. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I have a few questions. The first one was, how do you measure frequency and adoption? Referring back to the chart that you showed.
We do it with clicks. So how many times do people click on it and how many different customer groups or customers click on things. So that's pretty much like a little more complicated, but that's pretty much how we measure it. Does that answer it? Like it's a pretty simple answer.
Yeah, if you have asked questions, have follow-up questions, just unmute yourself and ask. So I think this question was from Chris. Chris,
yeah, that answered it exactly. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect.
The next one was, what kinds of metrics do you use to measure success beside usability testing?
So I think this varies a lot on the feature. So for example, we have an invoice workflow. So for the invoice workflow, it would be, for example, the time they need to go through the invoice workflow. Or it could be a certain user story. So for example, making a report. How many clicks do they need to do to get a report? So this really, really depends on the things we want to do. And this is one of the most complicated things, or the things we struggle the most with, especially when you're an early stage startup, when you don't have enough users and when you don't have, like, you don't really know what's the thing behind why the measurements are like they are.
Okay, next one is also from Chris. If you have a feature that isn't being adopted or used properly, but you really believe it shouldn't be killed, how do you go about convincing stakeholders one last time before guillotine comes down?
I don't think it's about convincing stakeholders. I actually think it's about being brave and killing features, because features that don't work are just messing up your software. And actually, we haven't been brave enough yet, and that's a huge thing to say. We have one feature we wanted to have, we know we have to kill, and we couldn't do it yet. And I don't think it's about convincing stakeholders, because if customers are not using it, and I found out that it's not an education problem, that we just didn't really solve a problem, or that our solution didn't solve the problem that is there is no convincing. It's the best thing to kill it.
Okay, thank you.
Next question is from Christoph. So how do you train and enable customer service and sales to extract good insights?
A really good question. So one thing is that I started doing the education in the company. So I'm doing the onboarding for every person coming in the company, and I'm doing the education of sales, because I think the one really important thing of UX is sharing your knowledge. I have so much insight that I have, and if I share my knowledge with customer success, they also know how to share it with me. Nevertheless, I think it's always important that they communicate those requests or those insights in the right level. So for sales, this is probably HubSpot, and they telling me what were certain reasons for deferred deals, what is a feature that was requested and that we didn't have. That is pretty easy. And for customer success, it's more difficult. So they would probably write it down. They would write down their interview in the product board, and I would go through it and ask some questions. And if there are too many things coming up for one customer, I have to talk to the customer myself, because then they write down customer requests and they put their own interpretation in it, customer success, and then I need to talk to the customer.
Did I get that right? You're doing the onboarding for sales and customer service?
I'm just doing the product onboarding, not the topic, but to understand the product better. So just this topic.
Nice, cool. So maybe one or two more. There's some from Anya. How do you make sure you have access to your customers? Have you ever thought about building up a customer discovery group?
Yes, good question. Actually, we've done that. We have a customer advisory circle. So we have like power users that we're working with and that I'm in contact with a lot. And actually, it's not such a big problem for me anymore. I have in average, I have 4 to 5 customer touch points each week, which is a lot considering that we only have 50 to 60 customers. So we have a really good connection right now to every customer. It's just time to always get the meetings and everything, but something like a customer advisory circle where you get customers together and let them discuss about things is a great tool.
Can I ask a question for that? Do you incentivize your customers who are part of that circle, or are they just doing that like freely and because they want to support you guys?
So to be honest, I sometimes would hope I would incentivize them to do it, because then I wouldn't have such a high pressure on me and expectations to do things. Because of course, what is their motivation behind to go in the advisory circle? They want to have a high influence on things we are developing, and that raises expectations. So that's why a lot of requests are coming now, or people say, oh, why didn't you do that? That was one of the most important things in the customer advisory circle. So no, we're not incentivizing them, but it could make sense to incentivize them and not let them do it because of their own intrinsic motivation.
Thank you.
I think there was still one open question.
Yeah, actually, I also had a couple of more open questions. I'm just looking for them in the chat. First of all, thank you so much for that talk. That was pretty incredible. I'm right now in a situation where I'm also trying to basically build up a whole like user research concept within the company I'm working for. So that's basically what I was looking for. So super insightful for me, and I also have like so many questions. You probably won't even get to answer them all. I think. Oh yeah, okay. So one question that came to my mind earlier was, how do you actually come up with your user research questions? So do you get those questions from the product team? Do you come up with them yourself? Do you basically have a research backlog where the whole company is able to put all their open questions, their hypotheses, their ideas for prototypes, whatever they have in. And so how do you know what to basically research on?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it depends a little bit on the stage. So I do strategy research for the company. So then most of the times it's management coming up to me and saying, okay, we want to extend our user group. Can we go international? Okay, so my question is going international, and I start with this. So then I start with, okay, can we narrow it down a little bit? Do you want to go for just English-speaking countries? I try to categorize things. And then I would start probably with a couple of interviews, like just to understand, like, where are we going right now? What is it? And then I can normally already grab something. Like, for example, for internationalization, I, for example, then had the research question, can I go with an English version to Spain? So what did I do? I talked to a couple of people in Spain. And now in the next step, I might like do landing page tests and try to get them into a product demo, and then I'll find out if they do it or not. But that's not the only way how I come to my research questions. Also, a lot of research questions come from the product team, because we have clustered things, we have synthesized a lot of insights, so we know, oh, some problem must be here. And then, even so I don't like it, but some research questions also come from really pushy customers who I might, like, we never had a really journey yet, but who we think, oh, they are big customers, they have a certain request. Why do they have the request? So this could even be a research question. What is the pain behind it? And then I'll find out if other people have the pain as well. Okay. So really different ways of how a research question can arise. And then I think the most important thing is, how do you prioritize them? And I think OKRs help you a lot with it. If you have company OKRs, we, for example, have then an OKR, we want to increase MRR. So if I know MRR, I need to get features that help sales and not that help upsell. So yeah, or whatever, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then maybe a follow-up to that. That's a last question as well. How do you actually give back your insights you gathered during your research back into the product teams? So how do you make sure whatever you came up with will actually be built?
So I don't think everything I ever come up with needs to be built, but so I think the first important thing is I never do customer testing or customer research alone. I always have someone with me. So either a product owner, our head of product, a solution engineer, whoever, not only because of me, but because also I want them to have empathy to the customer. It's not something they outsource to me. And second is, I do it with visualizations. You've seen a lot of pictures in my presentation. I'm drawing everything to synthesize things and to make it easy to understand. And what I started now is to record it. So I just do a 10-minute session on the topic internationalization to Austria. I don't know, just a random thing. And I share it to the whole organization like a podcast. That's what I'm starting now. Like, I already did this with onboarding, and we're planning to do this in general to scale this knowledge, not only in the product team, but in the whole organization.
That's a cool idea. That's a good idea, yeah. I really like that. Cool, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Anja. Are there any other questions? Oh yeah. Horatio, hi. How do you choose the hook that should be tested? I mean, everyone dreams about big platform that does everything and brings happiness to users and investors, but there's a gap between the big idea and the first MVP, and this keeps people in the loop of documenting, analyzing, desktop research, and only stakeholder management. Okay, so I try to summarize your question. So your question is, you have a big vision that where your product should go to, and how do you do the first MVP and really get to go in the going if you have too many stakeholders to manage? So assumption, since I know you, I think you are in a corporate and you're trying to do a startup program in a corporate and do a spin-off or something. So first of all, I think you don't start with you can have a vision, but then you have to start with a problem, and a precise problem. Because I can have an amazing vision if there's no problem that's out there and that needs to be solved, and if you don't have the right solution to solve it, no one's gonna ever buy it. So I think this is a lot of times the problem of corporate innovation. Like being an innovation consultant, I've done a lot of corporate innovation, and this is a huge problem, because then they have the idea of, oh yeah, we do AI financing tool to help people make better finance decisions. Okay, but what is the precise problem? So the problem can't be, oh, finance decisions are difficult. It must be way more precise. For example, it's hard for a person with 20 who has her first money to invest in ETFs because she has no clue what to do. So it has something to be really, really precise and a certain problem of a user group, and I start with this, and then I can extend it. But if I start with a huge group of people, it's gonna be hard. Horatio, I hope that answered your question.
Sure, it does. Thanks.
You're welcome. Nice to see you. Any other questions? You mentioned how you organize sprints, problem, solution, build. How do you integrate design with engineering, cross-functional team? What is design? Okay, good question. Right now we don't have a designer anymore. Huge problem. Because of private things, our designer left us a couple of weeks ago. So one of our product owners, he has also a design background, so he's doing a little bit of that, and a lot of our front-end engineers are doing it. Nevertheless, this is not a good thing. So that's why we're hiring a UX designer. So our ratio is, we have one UX researcher, we have 2 product owners who focus on certain features, we have 2 front-end engineers, we have 6 back-end engineers, and a head of product and a head of engineering. Those are the 2 founders. So the design ratio is a little lower, and I think in a B2B startup, or at least where we are, where it's really process focused, it's not the main topic. Like in a B2C startup, the ratio of a designer has to be way higher. I hope this answered your question. Then Mariam has asked, I can imagine that your users have total different ways of working. Was there ever a feature where half of the users that hated it and other half loved it? What is your strategy of that? Okay, yes, of course we have that. It's not that they hate it, sometimes they just don't need it, or it's too complicated for you to use it for them. What do we do? So I would see this probably in the frequency and in the adoption, and then I would have to talk to the customers to find out why, because there could be multiple reasons. It could be a bug, it could be that they need something more simple, they need something more complicated, I don't know, just so many things. You need to do qualitative research in order to find out what is the reason behind it. But you should find it out, because if you have a feature that is essential for you, or you think is essential, and it's not only used by half of your users, this might not be good, but it could also be fine. Like we have some users that just don't need some features. For example, you can enter revenues and like cash inflow for some projects, and some just don't want to do it because their inflow of money is so simple, because they just sell it to one investor, their project in the end, that they don't want to use it. Then it's fine. Then I don't need them to use it. I should just think, hey, can I use it for sales and get maybe new customers that need this? And do I really solve a problem on the market? Bye, Anja. So Miriam, does this answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool. Then there's a question from Andreas. Do you have any recommendations how to convince others to implement research as a necessary step in the development process? Huge problem. How can you do this? First thing would be, let them talk to a customer. Let them, if they have assumptions of what things they think should be a feature in your product, let them talk to your customer and let them find out what it does. It's an incredibly huge problem if there is a wrong, or there is a mindset of that you don't need a customer to talk to. So I think they will find it out sooner or later, because they will have problems with features of adaption. Give them something to read, get informed, try to get into the conversation with them. But I don't have a perfect solution for that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's just difficult to, yeah, you know, on the one side there, the developers who want to quickly adapt new stuff, and on the other side there's the management that prioritize different tasks. So sometimes I feel, especially because I'm new to the field and the company, stuck in the middle between them. So I need to be fast, but I need to do a lot. But research is just like, I bring up an idea, and then it's almost like, okay, let's try this, but not let's test this, but okay, let's implement this. And yeah, I think that's a difficult situation.
Yeah, Andreas, I think that's a huge problem a lot of companies have, because people think that investing time in research takes longer, but in the end it makes you way faster, because you didn't build something that was total shit and no one needed. So you are totally right, and I hope you're gonna be successful in suggesting other stakeholders or convincing them that it's important. But keep on trying. Even for me at Alasco, and they are all really open-minded, it was still difficult to get this implemented and get it in everyone's mind. So it's a change process, and be aware of having people who don't like this, because if you always ask the customer, it's not other people having the power, because it's the customer having the power, and that's a change process a lot of people don't like. So be the advocate for it and fight for it. It's worth it.
Okay, thank you. I will.
So I just hope I don't forget a question here. I have this. Do you have any recommendation? Yeah, that was yours. I would insist that research is almost the same thing as the feedback session, and you cannot be truly agile if you do not have a budget for feedback. Yeah, absolutely, Horatio, you're right. Okay, are there any other questions? Also, Hannah is here, like if you are having questions to Alasco or anything else.
I have one question, which is, there's a process of feature voting, which runs in parallel with another research process. And if the outcome of one this feature voting was, for example, feature X, and the outcome of the parallel process of the research, I guess, research plan focus and problem focus, I think rather, and did conflict. How would you solve this? There's a feature that 15 customers voted, which is not much, but this is the customer base that are voting right now, which the other research plan conflicted with. And the other research would think that this is not important at all. I'm sure that you would say that this is a soft skills question as well, how to combine both researchers, but how would you do it?
One question: so the customers voted for the feature request?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So I think the most important thing is always to get away from feature requests. Of course, customers will always talk about feature requests, and that's fine. It's not like I don't tell my customers, oh, stay away with feedback or with requests on product. I say, oh yeah, awesome feedback requests. I have found a new point to start from to understand what the problem is. So I think that's the most important thing. So if they have a feature request and they for one, I don't know what, a certain feature, and I would talk to all of those customers, call them, and would want to understand why do they want it.
Mhm.
And if you can get down to the problem, then you can also lay it next to the research and say, okay, is that something that brings the customer more value and brings us as a company in the end more value? Because the question is, what is your company goal right now? Is it to grow as fast as possible, or is it to make the experience of your customer for the current process better? So you need to have a custom or a company vision or company OKR behind it, because if my goal is to grow as fast as possible, I'm not going to do requests my customers want. Of course I don't, because I want to get a new target group.
All right.
But that's a little bit what you have to handle, but difficult for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Carlos.
Julia, how do you make customer problem, company's problem? Yeah, because in a financial industry, for example, there are a lot of newcomers, yes, that have a different business model. They are acquiring 10 million customers, but don't make money. Right? I love to have 10 million customers and resolve 10 million problems, but how can I sell that inside? Yeah, what are the KPIs that will bring that will bring customers and investors together?
Well, I don't think I have a general answer for this, because this can have so many things between that.
I don't know, it's about the vision. Sorry, it's about the vision, it's about leadership, it's about... I cannot see the connection. Yeah?
I think if you don't earn money with your product, but you have a lot of customers on your product, you need to earn money with another thing. So either you have the vision of getting a lot of data and doing something with the data later, that's why you go into minus in doing this, or you need a huge customer base first in order to get your product running. I think there are different things behind it that make it different. And I think it also depends on, is it a B2B or B2C software? And I think, Horatio, coming out from corporate company building, it's really difficult to do a startup in a corporate. It's just, I don't know. I do not know one, or there are a couple, but there are not a lot of startups that have been successful coming out from a corporate and not being really able to work all for themselves and work as a spin-off and have their own goals and not being connected to the corporate all the time. I think this is just a huge other problem that stands behind that.
I have a question. Julia, I really like your podcast idea for sort of sharing user insights with the rest of the team. I don't know if I will be planning to incorporate something like that in the near future. And I was wondering if you or anyone else has any suggestions for like really good ways to keep the team involved and be sharing these really interesting insights, but also sort of condensing it in bite-sized formats. There I'm kind of struggling with getting tons and tons of rich data and knowing that nobody wants to see all of that, and then sort of trying to figure out the best way to incorporate the team and also coming along with me on the user research journey.
So I have one or two other suggestions. So one thing could be included in your review, like when you do the Scrum review of new features you be deployed, add like a 5 minutes input from research. What did you learn this week or the last 2 weeks? This could be an option. you could otherwise do like a brown bag lunch every 2 weeks, and everyone gets food, and therefore they listen to you and you talk about new things you found out. And also, yeah, I think it's always making something somehow interesting to them. Like, that's why I think the visualizations work, because they can grab it really fast, the information, and it doesn't take that long. Like, you need to get them the information as fast as possible. But question to everyone, does anyone else has a good solution to this? Like, how can you share information or insights in the organization?
I mean, so I'm not a designer. I work in HR here at Alasco. So I'm quite far away from customers and the product itself. And then we work in an industry that is not the most typical industry, I would say. So I'm not used to the construction industry and how everything works. So I do enjoy every other week the product review, to not only see what our team built, but to only get the insights from Julia there. So for me, not being in the product and engineering team, it's just very nice to stay up to date and to understand a bit more the industry and the customers we work with.
Thank you, Hannah.
Great, thanks.
April, does this answer your question a little bit? Or
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably just a little bit trial and error, how people respond to different formats. But yeah, I think the podcast idea is great. I know at this stage I'm not prepared to put in that effort yet.
Make a Slack channel. I don't know if you use Slack or something, but make a channel and just post insights somehow.
Yeah, we also have something kind of similar to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe to jump in here, what I also heard, or what makes sense, is that you share insights via different channels in different formats, because you're also coming from an academic background, am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a whole other question that I'm probably the biggest culture shock. Yeah.
What I learned from another researcher who also came from an academic background is what she learned was that she had to reshare insights over and over again via different channels. It's not that she shared like one, I don't know, slide deck or something like that, and then it was done. It was different formats, different channels, some small bites, some short 5-minute sessions, some larger sessions, and so on, depending on stakeholders and using different formats. And don't be afraid to reshare things, because I sometimes, as you said, people have a lot on their plate, and it's different channels and that work for different people. So using that at the same time is, I think, not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's a good point, to try out different things. Thanks.
Any other question? So Horatio, you added a question. Really difficult to answer without context, to be honest. Like, I understand, like, he's asking how you enable teams to do what makes sense in a changing environment, and not to do what they are best at. What is the balance of expertise, creativity in a product journey? Horatio, really, really difficult to answer without context for me. If I would know, like, how big your team is, where you're working at, what are your people, it might be easier, but in general, people should do what they are best at, and you should hire the people that it makes sense that they bring in this competency. So if you have a team of competencies you don't need, you should rethink your team. But difficult to answer for me in a general answer, to be honest.
I know it's quite a generalistic question.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm the only UX guy in my company, and I'm pretty new to the field. And I like my focus is on UX research, but still I think you can really translate your idea best to the management or to your other teammates if you just build a short prototype, like simple low fidelity prototype. So I'm not a designer because I really come from psychology and research methods and stuff. So and I just tried out some tools that really work quickly for me, that are intuitive. I was just wondering if not only you, Julia, but everyone has a tip for me, which tool is really the easiest for low fidelity prototypes, just to visualize your ideas.
Just one question, Andreas. What is your product like? Just like really, is it B2B? Is it whatever? And how many people are you in your company?
Actually, it's a pretty complex product because it's B2B as well. And we have.
And for which industry?
Sorry?
Which industry?
Actually, it's like similar to Upwork or Fiverr. It's like a virtual platform for labor. So what the company does, it's a virtual call center. People can work from home as call agents, and you as a client can come up to and just book them via our platform. So, and we have a lot of stakeholders in there. We have like internal project managers, we have our clients who are paying, like you said, and we have our call agents on the other side. So yeah.
Okay, so there are different ways. So the question is, first of all, is it just an idea you want to present, or is it a workflow? So if it's just an idea and just one user interface, it's easier. Second, workflow.
Yes.
Okay, to make it more complex.
Yes.
So I'm not a designer either. What I do to be really, really fast is I make screenshots of our software, and I always work with my iPad. That's like my most important thing. And what I do is I draw on those screenshots, and then I just make a couple of screenshots, and then I just pretend this is a workflow. If I have to be really fast, this is one way. The other thing is with Adobe XD, I sometimes work just because we have a license, but work with screenshots. Like if you already have a software and you know how it looks like, I just put things together, really crappy sometimes, just to communicate it somehow. And otherwise, get a design intern or something. Get someone who helps you. Because like there are a whole bunch of tools if you do prototyping, like from the green field. Like there's Balsamiq, for example. You can do really, really fast prototyping for B2C. But if you already have an interface, try to work with it. Draw. But maybe someone else has a suggestion for Andreas as well. Feel free to hop in.
That was actually a pretty cool idea with the iPad, and just make screenshots and just draw on them and then just communicate that. I really like that. Thank you.
And I use a really cool app for that. It's called Concepts.
Okay.
And I love it because it's always the screen is as big as I want it to be. It's easy to put in screenshots. It's awesome. Like I would be so sad not to work with Concepts anymore. My best tool.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Awesome.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I do have a question.
Yes.
How do you showed that you do research with both customers and leads. So how do you get to the leads? From my experience, salespeople are very protective in a way, and it's not super easy to talk to them, especially as they're in the sales process. How do you do that?
So first of all, that's the research I do not like, because it has a part of cold calling in it, and I'm not good at it. I'm a relationship person, so it's really hard for me to get in contact with people I don't have a relationship with, and I feel really bad and like wanting something from someone where I can't give anything back. So what I do is I pair with the BDR, with the business development representative, who is really good in cold calls. So last time I had like for 2 weeks, we said, okay, we will just focus on this group and try out if we get product demos for it. And then I would do the product demo and show them the product. So first of all, I see, oh, they are a little interested. And then I talk to them and find out what is missing for them, because I know we are not totally targeting them. Or he's calling people and asking for expert interviews. That's also sometimes working, but I feel like the product demo part could already be a kind of testing, which is interesting. Or inbound activity. I think landing pages are the things we are going to start more, because the other thing is just too much resources we have to put in. So I will start working way more with landing pages, especially when I need to start talking about internationalization. Are people in Netherlands interested? I have no clue. So inbound activities, somehow marketing over LinkedIn and getting people to talk with us.
When you say cold calling, that means you contact people or leads or companies essentially who Alasco has not been in touch with.
Yes.
Okay, so you're not researching on like leads in a sense that accounts that sales representatives have been in touch with, or do you also do that?
So what do you mean? Like say the second part again. What?
Like, do you also do research with companies who got in touch with Alasco, who are in touch with the sales representative, but who are not customers yet?
Yes, I sometimes do. If they are in the target group that I'm researching, then I talk to our salespeople and they get me in touch with them, because they normally then linked it in HubSpot. And if they know I'm researching on this, they will link me the next couple of times once in a while, or I join them in a product demo and ask my research questions. But otherwise, we really do cold calling. So I categorize with the BDRler, I categorize the market, and we go over LinkedIn, and he finds out numbers and tries to get through to the person we need.
Interesting. Okay. And that worked? Were you successful in that?
As successful as cold calling in general is. Like, it's for us in general really difficult. So no, you don't get a lot of feedback back, but it could also be something because the target group is not interesting. So you could also compare, in our normal target group, how much do we get back from cold calling? How much do I get back in this new target group? And our main leads, I would say, I can't say it was totally being sure, but would come from inbound in general. So we need to generate somehow inbound deals in a different target group.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Any other questions? Cool. Otherwise, if there are no questions left, last chance. Okay, cool. Then thank you all for joining. Was really wait, there's one. Andreas, don't forget about the this was a question that don't forget about the best tool your voice presence and passion to express the pain solutions with what works better for Alasco, content marketing or LinkedIn. Andreas, that was your question. Could you clarify your question? Just not really sure.
No. I responded to Andreas' questions that
you asked
is your presence, your passion, your vision. Yeah, because feeling are selling, not PowerPoints. Yeah, so that was my recommendation to Andreas. And one thing that I'm curious about is the topic of marketing. How do you sell better? What works better with Alasco? Content marketing, basically responding to questions, or LinkedIn targeting?
But Horatio, to be honest, I cannot really answer you this. I have no clue. I don't know what the numbers are on it. I think we do both. We write blogs and get inbound. We get recommendations and inbound. We do it over fairs, but totally different and not my my main topic, so I cannot really give you a precise answer to that. Sorry. Okay, then thank you everyone. It was really nice meeting you. You can add me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with you guys. And I wish you a wonderful evening.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.